He smiled when we picked him up, but minutes later, he nearly killed us all. It was a cold October night. Just me, Jason, Lena, and Marcus driving back from a weekend camping trip. The road stretched into pitch black, no stars, no moon, just trees on either side and the steady hum of the tires. We were about 2 hours from home when we saw him. A lone figure on the shoulder, thumb out, head down like he didn't want to be noticed. Jason started to slow down, and I got this sinking feeling in my gut. I told him to keep driving. Lena said, "Come on, he looks harmless." And maybe he did. Skinny, maybe late 20s, beat up jacket, torn backpack. His skin looked pale, almost gray. He barely spoke when he got in, just nodded and mumbled, "Thanks." No destination, just said a bit further up. The second he got in, the whole vibe shifted. The air felt heavier. You know that feeling when someone's staring at you even if you can't see them? That's what it felt like. Nobody talked, but the silence felt loud. 10 minutes passed. We tried to chat a little, but he didn't respond, just stared out the window. Jason asked again where he was headed. The guy turned slowly and said, "Don't worry, we're almost there." The way he said it, it didn't sound like he meant a place you could find on a map. Then it started getting cold. Not normal cold, bone deep, sudden. I checked the vents. Heat was still on, but my hands felt like ice. Lena hugged herself and whispered, "Is it just me, or does it feel weird in here?" That's when he started laughing. Quiet at first, a low, breathy chuckle, like he was laughing at something we couldn't see. Jason glanced at him in the rear view and said, "You good, man?" No answer. His head dropped like he'd nodded off. Then his hand shot forward. He grabbed the steering wheel and jerked it hard to the right. We flew off the road. Tires screamed on gravel. We tore through the ditch, then slammed into a tree. Blackout. When I came to, everything was spinning. My ears were ringing. Marcus had blood on his face. Jason was groaning, barely able to move. Lena, she was silent. And the hitchhiker? Gone. His door was wide open. No footsteps, no sound. Nothing, just gone, like he'd vanished into thin air. We called for help. It took almost an hour for them to find us out there. Lena was unconscious but breathing. Marcus had a concussion. Jason's wrist was busted. I was the only one who could speak clearly. I told the cops everything. The hitchhiker, the crash, how he disappeared. They searched the woods, found nothing. No signs anyone else had been there. Just the wreck, just us. That night has stayed with me ever since. It started on the second day of a road trip my brother and I took through the back roads. We were just driving, talking, trying to enjoy the freedom of the open highway. That's when we saw a man standing by the side of the road, thumb out. He looked normal enough, a scruffy man, maybe mid-30s, wearing a dirty jacket and jeans. We didn't stop. Something felt off, but we just kept going. An hour later, when we pulled over at a gas station, I saw him again. The same guy, same clothes, standing just a few yards away. I pointed him out to my brother. "Are you kidding? That's weird," he said. We joked about it, said maybe he was hitchhiking for miles, or we just happened to pass the same spot again. But the feeling in my gut said otherwise. Later that night, as we were driving down a long stretch of dark road, headlights catching trees on either side, I saw him again. This time, he looked different. His clothes were torn, dirtier, and his hair was wild, like he hadn't slept in days. He was standing in the middle of the road, arms outstretched, blocking our path. My brother slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt just inches from him. The man stared at us, eyes wide and wild. Then he stepped aside, disappearing into the trees without a word. We didn't stop. Neither of us spoke much after that. The tension was thick. And then about 20 minutes later, he showed up again. Only now he wasn't waiting. He was running at us. He lunged toward the driver's side window, slashing at the glass with God knows what. My brother yanked the wheel hard, swerving off the road. The window shattered, glass raining inside the car. I ducked, heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. We sped away, the man's silhouette flickering in the rearview mirror, chasing us down the dark highway. I called the police with trembling hands, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. It was around 11:30 at night. I was driving through a stretch of back road just outside of town. No lights, no traffic, just endless black trees on either side of the road. I was coming home from a long shift, exhausted, a little wired from too much gas station coffee. Then I saw him. He was standing by the side of the road with his thumb out, like something out of an old movie. A skinny guy, late 20s maybe, wearing a hooded jacket, jeans torn at the knees, and a backpack that looked like it had been through hell. No streetlights, no cars for miles. Just him, standing there. I don't normally pick up hitchhikers, but something about him made me slow down. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Not desperate, not pleading, just waiting. He climbed in without saying much, shut the door quietly, buckled up. The car filled with the smell of damp clothes and old cigarettes. "Thanks," he muttered, staring straight ahead. I told him I was headed toward the ridge, and he nodded like that was exactly where he needed to go. He didn't ask where I lived or make small talk. He just sat there, tense, barely blinking. At first, I thought he was just shy, or maybe high. He didn't fidget or check his phone, just stared out the windshield like he was watching for something. Every now and then, I'd glance over and catch him looking at me out of the corner of his eye, not turning his head, just his eyes, like he was trying to figure something out. I asked him his name. He didn't answer at first. Then, after maybe 30 seconds, he said, "You can call me Adam." That gave me chills. It wasn't the words, it was the way he said it. Like it wasn't his name, like he was just picking something random. I asked him where he was coming from. Silence. Then he said, "Doesn't matter, nobody there now." I remember gripping the steering wheel tight. I couldn't tell if he meant a town, a family, or something else, but his voice was flat, like the words didn't matter to him either. We drove in silence for a while. The longer he sat there, the more wrong everything felt. The smell on him got stronger. Not just cigarettes and sweat, something else, something metallic, like old coins and rust. That's when I noticed his backpack was moving. Just a little, like something inside shifted on its own. I asked, "You okay?" He turned to me slowly and said, "Almost there." No expression, no smile, just those two words, and then he faced forward again. We were nearing the ridge. The road curved sharply and overlooked a steep drop into the woods. No guardrails, just you, the cliff, and whatever's waiting at the bottom. Suddenly, he sat up straight, like something inside him snapped to life. He started breathing faster. Not panicked, more like excited. "This is it," he whispered. Then, without warning, he unbuckled his seatbelt and reached for the door. I shouted, "What the hell are you doing?" He looked right at me, and I'll never forget what he said. "Don't stop, just keep going." Then he opened the door and threw himself out. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded sideways across the road. I jumped out, heart pounding, calling his name. "Adam!" But there was nothing. No sound. No body, just the echo of my voice disappearing into the trees. I searched for over an hour, flashlight in hand. Nothing. No blood, no footprints, not even a torn piece of clothing. It was like he'd never been there. The next morning, I went to the sheriff's office. They said no one had reported a missing person. No records matched my description. They even joked that maybe I just dreamed it up. But here's the thing. When I got home that night, his backpack was still in my back seat. I never opened it. I left it at the edge of the woods the next day. It was gone when I came back. It was late, maybe close to midnight, and I was driving home along this empty stretch of highway. The kind of road where the only sound is the wind, and the headlights barely cut through the darkness. I'd been driving for hours, tired but trying to keep my eyes open. That's when I saw a guy standing by the roadside, thumb out, looking like he'd been there for a while. I'm not the type to pick up hitchhikers, but something about him caught my eye. Maybe it was how calm he looked, like he wasn't desperate or in trouble. Just waiting. He climbed into the passenger seat without a word. The car smelled faintly of smoke and something else I couldn't place. I glanced over and noticed he was staring straight at the little Jimi Hendrix figurine on my dashboard, the one I'd bought on a whim last year at a flea market. "Nice," he said suddenly. "Jimi Hendrix, huh?" That caught me off guard. "Yeah," I said, relaxing a bit. "Huge fan." The guy was a legend. He only smiled faintly. We started talking about Hendrix, his music, and his crazy performances. I found myself drawn into the conversation, forgetting for a moment that I was driving with a complete stranger in the middle of nowhere. He knew things, details about Jimmy that even I didn't know. His tone was calm. Then, out of nowhere, he looked at me and said, "You know, I was going to kill you." I froze. My hands gripped the wheel tightly, heart pounding in my chest. He went on, voice low but steady. But when I saw that figurine and we started talking, I don't know, something changed. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, but the cold fear in his eyes told me this wasn't a joke. "Why?" I whispered. He shrugged. We shared something real. A connection. It made me think twice. The car was so still after that. The silence heavy. The only sound was the engine humming and the faint crackle of static on the radio. I kept stealing glances at him, trying to read his face. But that faint smile never left, like he had a secret no one else could understand. We reached a fork in the road. I slowed down, waiting for him to say where he wanted to go. Instead, he leaned closer and said, "I'm glad you have that little statue. It saved you tonight." Then he reached into his jacket pocket. I tensed, expecting the worst. But he pulled out a small cassette tape, handed it to me, and said, "Listen to this. It's Jimmy, the real stuff, not the hits everyone knows." Before I could say a word, he opened the door and stepped out into the dark. I hit the brakes, heart pounding, watching him disappear into the night. When I looked back down at the cassette, my hands were shaking. I never played it.